Welcome to Dr. CM Edcast, your go-to resource for medical learning. Through discussions, case studies, tutorials, and debates, we help you learn, grow, serve.
All right, today we are diving into one of the most incredible organs in the entire body, the kidney. Now, you might think of it as just a simple filter, but its functional anatomy is, and I mean this, a true masterpiece of biological engineering. So let's get a closer look at what makes this organ just so special.
To really get a sense of the kidney's importance, just chew on this number for a second. 20%. With every single beat of your heart, a full 20% of the blood your heart pumps out gets sent straight to your kidneys. And this is for an organ that makes up less than 0.5% of your total body weight. That's a huge investment of resources.
So, that leads to a really fascinating question, right? Why on earth does this relatively small, bean-shaped organ need such a massive chunk of your body's blood flow? Well, the answer is hidden in its incredible architecture, from the big structures you can see all the way down to the microscopic level.
Okay, so to start, let's just get our bearings. We'll look at the big picture, where these things are located and what they're doing on a macro scale.
This slide gives us a fantastic view, both outside and in. You can see its classic bean shape, tucked away against the back wall of the abdomen. But the real action is in that cross-section on the right. You see, this is where blood flows in, gets processed through those distinct outer and inner layers, and then the waste product, urine, gets collected right in the center before it's sent on its way through the ureter.
Now, let's zoom in on that cross-section. We're going to take a little guided tour, starting from the very outer edge and following the flow all the way to those central collecting tubes.
Let's just trace the path of a single drop of what will become urine. It starts out in the outer layer, the cortex, and the inner region, the medulla, which is made of these cool pyramid shapes. From there, it drips from the very tip of each pyramid, that's the papilla, into these little funnels called calyces. Then all those funnels merge into one big collection area, the renal pelvis, which then directs the urine out of the kidney. It's just a perfectly designed one-way street.
But hey, that's just a large-scale plumbing. To see the real workhorse of the kidney, we have to shrink ourselves down, way down to the cellular level to meet the actual hero of our story, the nephron. And here it is. This incredibly complex, beautiful little structure is the nephron. It's the microscopic engine of the kidney. Every single vital function we talk about, filtering waste, balancing salts, managing water, all of it. It happens right here, inside this one tiny, twisted-up tubule. And get this, you don't just have one or two of these. Each of your kidneys is packed with about 1.2 million nephrons. That adds up to nearly 2.5 million microscopic filtration stations, all working together 24/7 to keep your blood clean. That sheer number creates a massive surface area for filtration, which is exactly why the kidney can process so much blood so incredibly efficiently.
Now, every single nephron has two main parts. First up, you've got the renal corpuscle. That's the filter itself. Just picture a tiny, tangled ball of capillaries, the glomerulus, sitting inside a little cup called Bowman's capsule. This is where fluid gets squeezed out of your blood. Then, you've got the renal tubule. It's this long, winding tube that takes that raw liquid and meticulously processes it, deciding what your body needs to keep and what it needs to throw out.
And what's really cool is that not all nephrons are created equal. About 85% of them are what we call cortical nephrons. They have short loops, and they are the main workhorses for just general waste excretion. But that other 15%, they're the specialists. They're the juxtamedullary nephrons. They have these super long loops that dive deep into the medulla, and their main job is to create concentrated urine. This is an absolutely critical skill for conserving water. It's what allows mammals like us to survive without being constantly attached to a water bottle.
So now, we can finally answer that big question from the beginning, why so much blood? Well, it's because this entire filtration system is literally powered by blood flow and pressure. The way the blood vessels are physically designed here is absolutely key.
This slide shows us the roadmap of how blood gets to each one of those million-plus nephrons. A big renal artery comes into the kidney, and then it just branches out again and again, getting smaller and smaller until a tiny little vessel called an afferent arteriole delivers blood to each individual filter.
And here is where the kidney's anatomy gets really unique. See, in most of your body, blood flows from an artery into a capillary bed and then out into a vein. But the kidney does it differently. As you can see here, blood enters the glomerular capillaries through an arteriole, the afferent one, and it also leaves through an arteriole, the efferent one. It's a totally unique arteriole-capillary arteriole system.
So why does that even matter? What's the point?
Well, because having a muscular arteriole on both the entrance and the exit of the capillary bed lets the kidney create a zone of incredibly high pressure. We're talking about 45 millimeters of mercury, which is way higher than in most other capillaries. It's this high pressure that physically squeezes water and small stuff out of the blood and into the nephron, kicking off the whole urine-making process. It's a system powered entirely by pressure.
Okay, so this high-pressure system is powerful, but it's also a little sensitive. I mean, if your body's overall blood pressure were to swing up and down, you'd expect the filtration rate to go haywire too, which would be a disaster. But the kidney has an amazing trick up its sleeve. It regulates itself.
It's a process called autoregulation, and honestly, you can just think of it as the kidney's built-in cruise control. Whether you're sleeping or running a marathon, your blood pressure is changing. But within a really wide range, the kidney works to keep its own internal blood flow and filtration rate rock steady. This protects it from damage and keeps your entire body's internal environment stable.
So how does it pull this off? Well, it uses those two special arterioles we just talked about. By tightening or loosening the in-pipe, the afferent arteriole, or the out-pipe, the efferent arteriole, the kidney can precisely control the pressure and flow inside the glomerulus. It's like having two separate valves to fine-tune the whole system, second by second. But the truly mind-blowing part is how the kidney knows when to make these tweaks. Essentially, the kidney talks to itself. The part of the nephron that's processing the filtrate sends signals back to the part that's doing the filtering. This amazing little communication loop is called tubuloglomerular feedback.
This diagram here points out the key players in this internal chat. You've got this special group of cells in the tubule called the macula densa, and they act as sensors. They're perfectly placed to monitor the fluid that just got filtered, kind of like a quality control checkpoint on an assembly line.
So here's how that feedback loop actually works. Let's say your blood pressure spikes for a minute, and your filtration rate, your GFR, goes up. That means more fluid and more salt is going to rush past those macula densa cells. Well, they detect that increase, and they immediately send out a chemical signal straight to the afferent arteriole, the in-pipe, telling it to tighten up. That constriction reduces blood flow into the filter, and just like that, the filtration rate is back to normal. It's a constant, instantaneous self-correction. And if you want proof of how well this works, just look at this graph. See that red line? That's the filtration rate, the GFR. Now look at the bottom axis. As the body's arterial pressure swings all the way from 80 to almost 200, the GFR stays almost perfectly flat. That flat line is autoregulation in action. It is a truly remarkable feat of biological control that keeps your internal world stable no matter what's going on outside. So from its large-scale plumbing all the way down to millions of tiny, self-regulating microscopic filters, the kidney's functional anatomy is just brilliantly engineered for one main goal: stability. But as that graph hints, this incredible system isn't invincible. It has its limits. So the final question to think about is this: what happens to this master filter when blood pressure swings too far beyond what it can handle? And that right there is where this elegant physiology meets the very real challenges of medicine.